Do you like Dungeons and Dragons? Do you like vehicles? Do you like science fiction? Well, I made this thing a few years ago called the Vehicle Construction Kit for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. And I haven't written a supplement for it in quite a while. But I have been working on some futuristic bits and pieces for people who want to make sci-fi vehicles for their D&D games. We'll be doing a little preview of it today, but what I want to focus on is making some example vehicles. So I've got a couple of exoskeletons at the moment. What I want to make is a laser tank. So I'm thinking if I make a laser tank example vehicle, that can go in the book, and you can get an idea of the design process for the vehicles. As you can see, I use the home brewery from Natural Crit. The first thing we're going to do is just write down a few notes on what we want from this laser tank. So it's going to be futuristic, and I've put here fusion age. The way this supplement works is it breaks up the futuristic tag into different ages. So we've got modern, near future, fusion age, nanotech age, graviton age, and cosmic age, representing increasing levels of technology. So we're going to go with fusion age. So what do we want from this? It's going to be a main battle tank. We want it to weigh about 60 tons. It's got to have a laser turret, and it's going to be fusion powered. And then what else? Maybe machine gun, and anti-missile missiles. Let's see what will fit in. Oh, and really well armored on the front. It's going to be a classic main battle tank design with a sloped front, really thick armor. In the VCK core book, there is a body mass table, and if we want 60 tons laden, the body mass of the vehicle is 7. So most of the components we'll pick will be mass 7 components. A vehicle is made up of 20 components, each representing 1/20th of the laden mass of the vehicle. The most important component for a vehicle is what we call the helm. So the helm represents the driving controls and some of the transmission, that kind of thing. We can pick any slot number for the helm. I'm going to stick it somewhere near the middle, so slot 8. Generally speaking, the lower number slot numbers are towards the front of the vehicle, and 1920 they are at the back of the vehicle. I know it sounds weird calling the driving station of a tank the helm. It's just the generic name for that kind of control station across all the different vehicle designs. Because initially this book was just supposed to be designed for making ships and whatnot. So a mass 7 helm, we're going to make it a futuristic helm. It has 2 control stations and costs 15,000 gold coins. The Landcraft supplement I wrote for VCK does go into a little bit more detail about what comes in a futuristic helm, or cybernetic helm as I've called it here. We'll come back to that later, but it would include things like a radio and basic electronics like that. All right, what next? Let's stick some armor on. So armor is made using the structure component. Structure components have 2 functions. First of all, they can give the vehicle an armor class, and secondly, they grant hit points. Oh, and thirdly, they grant cover to the people inside the vehicle. For a tank, there's only 2 types of structure we're interested in. The first is frame, which would give it the bulk of its hit points, and the other kind will be full coverage structure, which would be the armor plates. On the front of the vehicle, we are going to stick 4 full coverage structure components made from steel. So if you look at the structure costs, mass 7 steel costs 10,000 gold coins per component. Let's go ahead and stick those in. There we are, slots 1 to 4, steel structure, and each of these is going to grant an armor class and structure points. Steel grants an armor class of 19 and 4 structure points. So we've got AC 19 and 4 structure points per slot. And now we know the vehicle's armor class 19. Why do we want 4 of these? Well, if a slot gets destroyed, it no longer grants its armor class. If we were to have just one full coverage structure at the front and it gets destroyed, there's no more armor class at the front. Furthermore, we'll be using an optional rule called plating, where each structure component grants damage threshold as well, and full coverage is best for that. Let's have some structure in the middle. 2 slots, 9 and 10. And these we're going to make frames. So that multiplies their structure points by 8. They don't grant any cover, and armor class 12 for steel. 32 structure points per slot. Same cost. Here in the center, we're also going to have more full coverage, so more steel. You can't have enough steel when you're building a tank. And then what shall we have in the rear? Slots 19 and 20 will do the same again. We'll have more full coverage steel structure. So we have filled 10 of our 20 slots with steel structure, so 50% of the way to the vehicle. I think that is about right for a main battle tank. At this point, we can add up all the structure points. So we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 slots with 4 structure points, and then 2 slots with 32. So we have a total of 96 structure points. What are structure points? They're used to determine hit points. Because of the weird way hit points scale with mass, it's not linear. I use a hit point rating to determine the hit points. And hit point rating comes from the vehicle's mass and the structure points. So we're mass 7, so that's hit point rating of 7. And then with 96 structure points, that gives us an extra 7.5. So hit point rating is 14.5. So on this table, 14 would be 400 hit points, 15 would be 500 hit points. So we're in the middle of that, 450 hit points. So since we've been looking at structure, we may as well get this whole plating thing sorted out. Plating is an optional rule from the engineering options supplement. And what it basically means is each of those full steel components grants us half a plating point. We've got 8 of those, so our plating value is 4. Note that down. Plating 4. Each point of plating increases the damage threshold by 1 step on the hit point rating from mass table here. So normally damage threshold would be 10 for a mass 7 vehicle, but we're going to go up 4 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. The damage threshold is now 20. But there's one more option I want to apply from the Future Vehicles book. This is something I'm playtesting at the moment, a composite armor option for structure. Each level of composite armor increases the armor class and plating value. For the Fusion Age Tech group, +3 armor class. is what I suggest. That would multiply plating by 4 and cost by 30. I've applied the +3 composite modifier to the steel structure at the front here, slots 1 to 4. So those are now a whopping 300,000 gold pieces per slot. Our tank now has an armor class of 22. The plating value for each of these composite steel structure slots has gone from 0.5 to 2 because of the times 4 multiplier. So what's the new plating value? So the 4 slots at the front, that's 8, and then we've got 4 slots at half a point, which is an extra 2 plating. So the total plating value is now 10. So going back to our damage threshold table, we start at mass 7. We're going up 10 steps, so let's look at 17. The new damage threshold is 70. So we can put that in there. If you use the facing rules, things like the armor class and the damage threshold can be split up by facing, front, rear, and sides. But we're just going to keep this simple for now. So that was part 1, the structure components. In part 2, the next video, we will get that laser cannon on the top of the tank. And then part 3, we'll do the power and motive systems. Part 4 will be finalising the statistics and maybe looking at the more advanced facing rules, which would be appropriate for a tank, I think.